Happy Friday. Tonight we start with new developments in the West Memphis 3 case. Thanks for joining us at 10. I'm Rolly Hoyt.
And I'm Faith Woodard. In May of 1993, the bodies of 8-year-old Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers were found in the Robin Hills neighborhood of West Memphis.
Police there arrested Jesse Miskelly, Jason Baldwin, and Damian Eccles for those murders. During a trial, the jury found Baldwin and Miskelly guilty of 3 counts of capital murder, both getting life sentences. The verdict sent Eccles to the death row.
After over 18 years in prison, the 3 accepted an Alford plea, which allowed them to maintain their innocence but plead guilty. Then in 2021, a new development in the case, new laws opening the door to test old DNA with new technology. And tonight, Catherine Rowley continues this 11 News investigation after spending the day reading the order and talking to people connected to the case.
Rolly and Faith, in 2021, this box right behind me was uncovered after attorneys were told that it had been destroyed in a fire. Now that box contained the ligatures that the boys were bound with when they were found. DNA technology at the time of the murders wasn't anywhere near that level that we have today. But thanks to those state laws, it is now set to be tested, opening the door to new hope for the West Memphis 3 in the case. Arkansas Act 1780 allows people convicted of a crime to seek post-conviction relief based on new scientific evidence that could prove their innocence. Damian Eccles brought this to a Crittenden County judge. That case made its way all the way to the Arkansas Supreme Court decision that reversed the original ruling. In the agreement signed on Friday, the state agreed to send the ligatures, hairs found at and near the scene, in for testing. In total, there are about 15 different DNA samples that were collected from the crime scene that are now going to be tested. Also in that order, the hair of Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of Stevie Branch. I asked Patrick Banca, Damian Eccles' attorney, how significant this order is for the DNA to be tested. He said that it starts the process of having those ties tested by this new method of DNA extraction and believes that the killer or killers could be identified upon the completion of the testing. He also said that this ruling paves the way for those who have been trying to prove their actual innocence.
All right, Catherine, you've been following the update since you came to Arkansas, but what does this now mean for the case that has been ongoing now for the past 32 years?
So I asked the same thing to Patrick Banca, who's Damian Eccles' attorney, and he told me that this means that the West Memphis 3 will now could be exonerated and those responsible could be identified. He also said that hopefully that this means that the family of those 3 boys could finally get some justice when it comes to the next steps in that DNA. The DNA has to be delivered to the crime lab within 10 days, and we could see the results before the end of fall.
All right, Catherine, thank you. We'll be sure to follow this story and keep track of that testing and share the results as soon as we can.
Good afternoon. So, getting to what I wanted to get back into, I came across this West Memphis 3 update from about a month ago, and let me give you my opinion on it. Not that my opinion is worth a grain of salt. However, a judge has overturned a ruling to allow the West Memphis 3, Baldwin, Miskelly, and Eccles, to go ahead and take the forensic evidence that they thought was lost in the beginning. That news article said something about a fire. Previous to that, it was a flood. So whatever it is, I think in all due respect, I think that it's an issue with maybe the integrity of the evidence. Now, they've moved it forward. It's got to be there within 10 days, yada, yada, yada. If anyone that's been following this about a year or so ago, Damian Eccles was trying to crowdfund money to have the DNA tested independently because it's not been tested by the prosecution or the state. So he alluded some time ago that the preferred method that he would want, which you'll see later on, is the MVac system. The MVac system is it's a system that uses a solution with a vacuum with a brush on it, Now, if any of you remember, I contacted MVac pretty recent to the old update about wanting to use this new technology. And a representative from the MVac that we spoke to, he was quite naturally got a bit of a salesman pitch to it all. And I asked him some pretty candid questions about collection methods, cross-contaminations, things of that nature. And there were some things he could kind of give you his bland take or opinion on it. And then some things he just kind of outright either didn't want to answer or didn't really know the answer to it. So traditionally, what the ideal is that you have said forensic sample, and the ideal is to keep as much of it back as you can, and especially in a case like this where it's went on for such a long time that the technology is just ever rapidly changing, and the ideal is to use fractions of the original bulk of material, so as you still have a sample to retest once the technology furthers, right? With the MVac, however, it's a very how do I want to say, obtrusive sort of way to collect the sample. Not to say that all of the samples will fall under the collection of the MVac. However, that was the preferred method by Eccles some time ago. Now, I'm going to show you here just a really boiled down version of what the MVac does.
Well, a new machine is headed to Central Texas with potential to solve old crimes and catch violent criminals. The Bell County Sheriff's Office is partnering with Harker Heights, Belton, Temple, Killeen, and Waco Police Departments to have access to a DNA collection machine called an MVac system. Now, this machine will get better collection evidence for lab testing. It can pull DNA samples from clothing, not varnished wood, couches, and even rocks.
It's not the golden bullet. It's not going to solve every one of them. It's just one more tool that I think will get us to that closure and getting a perpetrator found.
Agencies will start training with the system in June, and we'll have more on this tonight at 10.
So there you have it. Again, that was a really abbreviated rundown of the MVac system. However, you can kind of get the idea, and you can look into it more yourself. It's MVac system. There's just a lot of variables, seemingly, with the MVac system. It's if you listen to that last news video, certainly seems like it's limited on the surfaces it can even remove DNA. Now, the claim is that it collects 20 times more DNA, which may be the case. However, on certain articles, it's going to completely leave nothing behind for a future sample. In regards to the West Memphis 3, if anyone has been a staunch follower of that, there was an African-American man who popped up in the Bojangles restaurant who was muddy, disoriented, and bleeding heavily. He locked himself in the woman's bathroom, was there for an hour. They ran him out, called the police, and the police never came into the restaurant. The next day, forensics came and they collected a sample of his blood and DNA from the wall in the woman's bathroom, but that was subsequently lost. You have the Terry Hobbs hair that was in the ligature, the shoelace ligature of one of the boys found in the drainage ditch. And then you have one of his friends, David Jacoby, one of his hairs found located pretty close to where they believe the initial murders took place. So, and then in the very first article, you will hear that they have 15 potential pieces of forensic evidence. So, again, reiterating that not every article they have, you're not going to test a hair with the MVac. So there will be certain things that they can test with the MVac, but it is, in my opinion, it's pretty disheartening to see the way it sort of destructs things and leaves nothing to be used later on. And I guess in closing, I hope that if justice hasn't been served, that it will be. But the way the American justice system is created is that Baldwin, Eccles, and Miss Kelly, they took an Alford plea on these three murders. So, in all actuality, American criminal history has written them as the guilty parties. It's only by this landmark overturn that they may have a chance to clear their name. And I know one of the components of the fight to get them a new trial was that you can't overturn every case and you can't reappeal every case and, so on and so forth. So I think that it's sort of a dual-edged issue where you probably would have an influx of people wanting to retry their cases for whatever reason, and the ideal that the finality of justice actually isn't the finality sometimes. So I wish the best for all parties, and we'll just keep an eye on what's to come in the future. Thank you for having me back. Have a great day.